I knew she was trouble the moment she stepped onto my porch in those white orthopedic sneakers, squeaky clean, like they'd never seen dirt, let alone a farm. "Sheriff Buck Harlan?" she asked, voice clipped like garden shears. I gave a slow nod, wiping my hands on a rag after fixing the tractor. "That's right. I'm Karen Whitmore, HOA president." She said it like she was announcing royalty. That title might have meant something in the suburbs, but out here in Harlan Ridge, we didn't take kindly to bureaucracy with a side of smug. She held up a laminated clipboard like it was a warrant. "You're in violation of Regulation 12B, unapproved agricultural equipment visible from the street." I raised an eyebrow, gesturing toward the half-acre between my porch and the gravel road. "You mean my tractor? On my farm?" "It's an eyesore," she said flatly. "And per HOA guidelines, you have 72 hours to remove it or face a $250 fine." I let the silence hang, long enough for the birds to stop chirping. Then I chuckled. "Ma'am, this here's been my land since before that HOA was even a thought in some real estate developer's head. My granddaddy built this porch." Her lips thinned. "Well, times change. You signed the agreement when this subdivision went up on the south end. You're in the jurisdiction now, and I will be enforcing the rules." That was the moment it started, the unraveling of peace, thread by thread, pulled by manicured fingers. At first, it was petty stuff. Notes tucked under the windshield of my truck, written in loopy cursive with phrases like "gentle reminder" and "friendly warning," a fine for unauthorized mailbox paint color, another for non-regulation fencing around the chicken coop. It was laughable until it wasn't. Next came the fees, real ones, mailed with letterhead and legalese. $300 for excessive rooster noise. $150 for non-native flora encroaching on community path. I called the number listed on the notices, got routed through a voicemail loop that ended in a robotic "thank you." She wasn't just enforcing rules, she was creating them. I wasn't the only one either. Neighbors whispered about random charges, surprise inspections. One guy even got fined for having too many bird feeders. Still, I tried to keep calm. I'd seen folks lose their heads. Over less. As sheriff, you learn patience. You wait, you watch. People show you who they are if you give them time. Then came the day the two men showed up at my door. Black polos, aviators, plastic badges clipped to their belts. One was tall and jittery, the other squat and trying way too hard to look intimidating. "We're with the HPOA, Harlan Property Oversight Authority," the tall one said, like that was supposed to mean something. "Uh-huh," I said. "You got ID?" They hesitated, flashing those flimsy badges. "We're here to serve notice. Continued noncompliance. Immediate tractor removal or legal action will be initiated." I leaned against the doorframe and gave him a good long look. "You boys know impersonating an officer's a crime, right?" Jittery's confidence faltered. The squat one cleared his throat. "We're not impersonating, just enforcing HOA mandates." That's when I pulled out my wallet and flipped my real badge. Sheriff of Harlan County. 5-point star, polished. Silver. Their faces went pale like fresh buttermilk. "You tell Karen Whitmore," I said, stepping closer. "Next time she wants to play cops and robbers, she better bring a real warrant." They scampered off without another word. But the damage had been done. After that, things escalated fast. Karen filed official complaints with the county, called in code enforcement, trying to get my land rezoned, sent out newsletters warning residents about rural non-compliance threats. The community started to shift. People were scared. A widow down the street, Miss Harper, got fined for leaving her garbage cans out past 10 a.m. Another neighbor, the Thompsons, suddenly had to repaint their barn neutral taupe to avoid a lien. Karen strutted around like a dictator with a measuring tape, always watching, always citing. I caught her photographing my cows once, said their smell radius violated olfactory ordinances. It would have been funny if it weren't so damned effective. People paid the fines, fell in line. Fear does that. But I didn't. I started digging, quietly, carefully, looking into the HOA's books, the board meetings, the fake oversight authority. I kept it close to the chest, never let her see me coming. Then one night, I got a call from Dale over at the county clerk's office. "Buck," he said, voice low. "You didn't hear this from me, but there's something real strange in those HOA filings. Some of those fines, they're not going to the HOA's account. They're going into a private LLC. I stood on my porch, staring out at the moonlit fields. My mind raced, putting pieces together. Karen wasn't just a control freak. She was skimming, embezzling, lying. And she'd built a paper empire so tangled in red tape, no one dared cut through it. But I carried a badge, and more importantly, a whole lot of patience. The question wasn't if I'd bring her down. The question was how loud it would be when she fell. And just like that, I had a reason to go to the next HOA meeting. Not as a neighbor. As a lawman with a reckoning in his back pocket, I walked into the next HOA meeting calm as a still pond, on the surface. Beneath, I was all current. The kind that pulls you under before you know you're drowning. It was held at the community clubhouse, one of those faux rustic buildings built to make city folk feel like they're living the country life. Exposed beams, Edison bulbs, everything smelled faintly of lemon-scented cleaner and paranoia. Karen Whitmore stood at the front, clacking through slides on a projector like she was unveiling a corporate merger. Her hair was lacquered into a shell, and that smug little smile never left her lips. And in our continued efforts to maintain property values, the board has approved stricter enforcement of trash receptacle storage timelines, as well as a ban on livestock within 150 feet of residential structures. That last part got some murmurs. She scanned the crowd with predatory calm. I know change is hard for some of our more traditional residents, but these measures are for the greater good. Greater good, my ass. I took a seat in the back, didn't speak, just listened. She'd packed the front rows with her loyalists, folks who owed her favors or feared another citation on their lawn, but not everyone looked convinced. A few glanced at me, eyes asking silent questions. Was I going to say something? Do something? Not yet. After the meeting, I hung back while folks trickled out. Karen made a show of ignoring me, which told me she was rattled. She wasn't used to pushback. She was used to compliance, obedience, fear. I could be patient. I'd seen meth heads, twitching through withdrawals with more composure than Karen when she didn't get her way. People like her, they unravel slow and ugly. Next day, I visited Edna Wickers, the HOA's treasurer. Sweet woman, heart like butter on warm cornbread, and gullible as a calf. She poured us tea on her porch while her dog barked at a cloud. I don't see how there could be anything shady, Buck. Karen says the fines go toward community improvements, like the Duck Pond Restoration Fund. I blinked. Duck Pond? Yes. Haven't you seen the plans? It's on page 42 of the Spring Agenda Addendum. Edna, that pond's been dry since Reagan. She looked stricken. Oh dear. Do you think? I leaned in, lowered my voice. I think someone's pulling more than weeds around here. She didn't say anything, but the tremble in her teacup spoke volumes. I left her with a copy of the LLC registration Dale had emailed me, Karen's signature plain as day. Then I went digging deeper. Emails, tax filings, minutes from HOA meetings that had never been distributed. I found a dozen fines issued to homes that hadn't had violations, just residents who'd spoken out, asked questions, or dared to host unapproved 4th of July BBQs. Pattern was clear. Speak up, pay up. One family, the Yarbros, had moved out. Last fall after Karen slapped them with over $3,000 in fines, false landscaping violations, improper lighting, an unlicensed dog. Their front porch still sat empty. Ghost of a warning. But the real break came from an unexpected place. Ronnie, the teenage son of one of Karen's enforcers. Greg. Kid cornered me at the feed store, looking nervous as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. Sheriff? I think my dad's in some stuff he shouldn't be. I gave him space. Let him talk. Turns out Greg had been helping Karen draft fines and notices under the table. In exchange, his own property got immunity from violations. She'd even promised to waive his HOA dues, but the money? Ronnie shifted, voice barely above a whisper. It doesn't go where it's supposed to. You see the books? He nodded. There's 2 sets, One she shows at meetings. One she keeps on her laptop. Bingo. I was building a case. Quietly. Brick by brick. But Karen? She'd picked up on the shift. Power drunk or not, she had instincts. That week I came home to find an official letter taped to my barn door. Final violation warning. Eviction proceedings to be initiated under Section 14F. Chronic noncompliance eviction. From my own land, I stood there, letter fluttering in the breeze like a middle finger from a bureaucratic banshee. For a second, I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it almost felt like a dare. She wasn't cracking. She was doubling down. I called up a few neighbors. Quietly, asked if they'd gotten anything strange lately. Miss Harper, liens, the Thompsons, court summons, even Edna, frozen HOA accounts. Karen claimed fraud concerns. She was cutting off any potential dissent before it could grow legs. And now, she was coming for me directly, which meant I was getting close. That night, I parked a mile down the road and walked through the woods to a clearing near Karen's property. From there, I could see her office window lit up like a beacon. A silhouette moved inside. She was pacing, typing. I raised the binoculars I'd brought and caught just enough detail through the glass. A laptop, papers, a black binder she kept locked in a drawer. The real books, no doubt. I didn't need to break in. Didn't need to steal. All I needed was access. And thanks to Ronnie, I had it. I'd told him to wait. Bide his time. Get me a copy of that binder the next time Karen left the house. But before he could, she beat me to the punch. The next morning I woke to flashing lights and a notice posted on my gate. Unlicensed weapons storage violation, temporary suspension of civil authority. Pending review, she'd gone to the county ethics board. Claimed I was using my role as sheriff to intimidate her. That I posed a credible threat to public order. And to my shock, they bought it. Or at least they bought time. My badge was under investigative hold. My authority? Suspended. She'd taken my badge, my power. At least she thought she had. I stood at the edge of my fields that evening, sun dipping low, casting long shadows over the land that had been in my family for 3 generations. Karen had made her move, and she'd just left me no choice but to make mine. Funny thing about suspensions, they don't stop a man from digging. And Ronnie, well, he just sent me a photo, a page from that black binder, one word at the top, confidential payoff schedule. My phone buzzed again, this time a list of names, and right there in the middle was someone I never expected, someone inside the ethics board. That one name in Ronnie's photo hit me like a gut punch wrapped in betrayal. Marvin Crowley. I'd known Marvin 20 years. Used to go hunting together before he traded camouflage for khakis and a government paycheck. I vouched for him when he got appointed to the board. Turns out I'd backed a snake. I sat in my truck behind the old feed mill, staring at that photo, jaw tight enough to crack enamel. Ronnie had delivered the goods. 12 names. HOA board members, community enforcers, and one Marvin Crowley, listed next to the same 3-letter code scribbled next to each POS payoff structure. Karen hadn't just built a little HOA kingdom. She'd built an empire of fear greased by dirty money and weak men. No wonder every official complaint hit a dead end. She wasn't playing the game, she was buying the rule book. That night, I met with Ronnie again, out in the open this time, on my porch, under a yellowing bug light and the ever-watchful eyes of my coonhound Jasper. Kid was jumpy. She knows something's off, he said, glancing over his shoulder. Dad said she's locking her office now, triple-checking the books, and she's planning something big. Real soon. How big? She called it a reset, said it's time to clean house. I didn't like the sound of that. Karen didn't bluff. She bombed. With my badge still under suspension, I had to move like a civilian, which meant no legal authority, but also no limits. I started working back channels, friends, former deputies, quiet allies in the zoning department and tax office. Everyone who still believed in the idea of right and wrong, before Karen rewrote the definitions. What we found wasn't just fraud, it was a whole damn pipeline. Karen had been issuing fake fines, laundering them through shell companies, and using that cash to fund neighborhood improvements she awarded to herself through contractor. Aliases. Everything from faux sidewalk repairs to never-built splash pads. And every dollar skimmed off the backs of scared residents too tired or broke to fight. The binder Ronnie photographed was the Rosetta Stone of her operation. Cross-referenced dates, amounts, accounts, and signatures. It was airtight. But it wasn't enough. I needed the showstopper. The thing that would gut her empire in front of witnesses. Problem was, Karen wasn't slowing down. She was speeding up. By Friday, HOA patrols doubled. Men in polo shirts roamed like mall cops on a warpath, handing out fines with military precision. Lawns too long, windows too reflective. One guy got cited for aggressive wind chimes. Then came the flyers, printed on heavy cardstock, glossy like a wedding invite. Community mandatory. Compliance symposium attendance. Required location, the Ridge Pavilion date, Saturday, 6 p.m. topic. Transition to centralized HOA oversight. I stared at the words, each one more Orwellian than the last. Centralized oversight? That was code for one thing. Karen wants total control. Rumor spread fast. She planned to dissolve the existing board and install a director general role, eliminating voting rights to streamline enforcement. Guess who was the only nominee? She wasn't just tightening the leash, she was welding it shut. I knew what I had to do. I just needed one last piece. I called in a favor from a friend down in Tallahassee, data forensics expert. Told her about Karen's laptop, the secret files, the payoffs. She didn't ask questions. She just said, "Get me a copy." So Ronnie delivered. Slipped a flash drive into his backpack after copying everything while Karen was at her yoga/mandatory board meeting. Yes, she held both at once. Multitasking tyranny. We plugged it in and struck gold. Emails, spreadsheets, audio recordings of Karen dictating fake violations to her enforcement squad. She even joked about finding Miss Harper just to keep her from getting too comfortable. Disgusting. But also, exactly what we needed. I had the plan now. We'd hit her at the symposium, on her own stage, in front of her captive audience. Make her answer for every lie, every dollar, every abuse of power. Live, with cameras rolling and county officials watching. All I needed was someone on the inside to help run the tech during the event. That's when Edna called. Her voice trembled like a leaf in a storm. "Buck, I can't do this anymore. I think she knows I've been talking to you. She cut me off the community network, revoked my HOA login. She's panicking," I said. "That's good." "No," Edna whispered. "It's not. She sent a new violation to my house." "But it's not a fine," I frowned. "Then what is it?" "A foreclosure notice." I felt my stomach drop. "What?" "She says I breached HOA ethics and forfeited property rights. But that's not even. Buck, she's trying to take my home." I stood up so fast I knocked over my chair. "You listen to me. You hold tight. That house isn't going anywhere. Not without a fight." "Promise me," she said, her voice breaking. "Promise you'll stop her." I did. But I also knew Karen wouldn't go quietly. Saturday came. The Ridge Pavilion filled fast. Folks dressed like they were attending a funeral they didn't want to admit was their own. Tense smiles, folded arms. Karen stood on the elevated stage like a queen addressing her subjects. Behind her, banners, balloons, and a slideshow titled, "A Brighter Tomorrow, HOA Leadership for the Future." She took the mic. "Thank you all for coming. Tonight, we embark on a bold new chapter, one of order, structure, and accountability. Together, we will remove chaos and restore peace to this community." My cue was 30 seconds away. Edna, bless her soul, stood near the projector with trembling hands, ready to swap the slideshow when I gave the signal. The moment came. I stepped through the doors, dressed in plain clothes but holding a folder, thick with receipts, records, and the printed transcripts from Karen's laptop. The room turned. Whispers, gasps. Karen's smile froze. "Evening, Karen," I said. "Heard you were handing out new titles. Got one for you, too." I turned to the crowd. "Karen Whitmore has lied to you. She's stolen from you. She's weaponized this HOA like a private militia, and I have the proof." I gave Edna the nod. The screen blinked. Gone were the pastel slides and buzzwords. In their place, a spreadsheet. Title, payoff schedule, confidential. Then, an audio clip. Karen's voice crackling from the speakers. "Just find the Thompsons again. They won't. Fight it. And make sure Marvin gets his cut. We need the board vote locked." The room went dead silent. Karen's mouth opened, then closed, and then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed, cold, sharp, like glass breaking. "You really think this matters?" she said, eyes wild now. "You think you can stop me with a few files? I own this neighborhood. You think they'll turn on me?" And for a second I wondered, until the door opened again, and Marvin Crowley walked in, holding a second folder. He looked right at Karen and said, "Not anymore." For a moment, the air in the Ridge Pavilion felt vacuum-sealed. Karen's smirk faltered. Her eyes flicked to Marvin like she was trying to recalculate an equation that suddenly didn't add up. "Marvin," she said slowly, "I don't know what you think you're doing, but I know exactly what I'm doing," he interrupted. His voice was louder now, steadier than I'd heard it in years. "I'm cleaning up the mess I helped make." Gasps scattered through the crowd like firecrackers. Marvin held up the folder in his hand. Karen forged my name on at least 6 authorizations to reroute HOA funds. I got suspicious, did some digging. When Buck showed me the proof, I knew it was over. Karen's eyes went flat, dead flat. "You miserable, backstabbing coward. That makes 2 of us," Marvin said. "The," crowd murmured. A couple people stood. One woman raised her phone, recording now. Karen saw it. And that did it. The mask cracked. "Shut that off," she snapped. "All of you, phones away. This is a secure meeting. You are legally bound by HOA confidentiality." "No, Karen," I cut in, stepping forward, my voice calm but loud enough to echo. "You've been hiding behind fake rules and fake authority long enough. Tonight, it ends." I motioned to Edna, who pulled up the final file. It was a PDF, signed documents showing Karen awarding $112,000 in restoration contracts to a company called Whitmore Community Solutions, LLC, owned by none other than Karen's cousin in another county. No work had ever been completed. Edna cleared her throat into the mic, voice shaky but clear. "That's where your dues went, everyone. Not to landscaping, not to the dog park, to Karen's family business, for beautification efforts that never happened." The projector screen lit up with side-by-side photos, before and after, shots of the same cracked sidewalks, the same dead trees, the same busted sprinkler heads. Not a damn thing had changed, except the bank balances. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Is that even legal?" Karen took a step back. Her heels clicked against the wooden platform like a ticking clock. "I am the HOA," she hissed. "You think anyone's going to care about your little slideshow? Do you know how much I've done for this community? I saved this place from chaos." "You exploited it," I said. "You used fear, false authority, and fake violations to fund your own empire. You turned good people into nervous wrecks, and you tried to ruin anyone who stood in your way." Karen's face twisted. "You're suspended. You're nothing." I took another step forward and pulled something from my pocket. It wasn't my badge. It was the reinstatement letter, signed that morning by the County Ethics Committee after Marvin turned over his own confession and cleared my name. Stamped, official, ironclad. "I'm sheriff again as of 8:01 a.m. today," I said. "And as such," I turned to the back of the room. "I'd like to ask our guest to step in now." 2 deputies entered, real ones, badges gleaming. Karen froze as they approached, her breathing shallow and quick. "You can't. No, I run this place. I own this community. You can't arrest me in front of my board." Marvin shook his head. "Karen, they're not your board anymore." One of the deputies spoke gently but firmly. "Karen Whitmore, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and filing false legal claims under color of authority. You have the right to remain silent." As the words rolled out, Karen's knees buckled slightly. Her manicured hands twitched, as if still searching for a clipboard to cling to, but no one moved to help her. The room she once ruled like a queen turned to stone. Faces that used to flinch under her scrutiny now stared with quiet satisfaction. Her followers had become witnesses. Her power drained faster than the ink in her citation printer. As she was led away, eyes wide and disbelieving, she looked back, one last time. At me, at Marvin, at the sea of neighbors who finally saw the wizard behind the curtain. And she realized something. I think she never imagined. No one would miss her. In the weeks that followed, the HOA collapsed under its own weight. With Karen gone and the fraudulent structure exposed, the board voted unanimously to dissolve. A new civic committee was formed. No dues, no fines, just folks helping each other out. What a neighborhood should have been all along. We helped Edna get her accounts restored. Miss Harper's lien was canceled. The Thompsons painted their barn whatever color they damn well pleased. Me? I got my badge back and finally moved my tractor closer to the road out of spite. Folks started waving again, laughing, hosting cookouts, without asking permission. It was like someone cracked open the clouds. But Karen left her mark. Anytime someone mentioned new regulations, you'd hear chairs shuffle and throats clear. Her ghost lingered like the last guest at a bad party. The name Karen Whitmore became a warning, spoken softly, like folklore. Still, we moved on. One Saturday, I was at the farmer's market when a woman asked if I thought she needed HOA approval to hang wind chimes. I grinned. "Hang 10 of them. Play 'em with a shotgun if you want." She laughed, but I noticed her glance over her shoulder. Just to be sure, old fears die slow. That night, I sat on my porch, watching Jasper chase moths and listening to the distant clatter of wind chimes in the breeze. Peaceful, real. Funny thing about tyrants, they never think they can fall, and when they do, they expect the world to crumble with them. But all it took to bring down Karen Whitmore was one brave kid, a few old friends, and the truth. Turns out, the strongest thing in this town wasn't her grip. It was our patience, and maybe a little poetic justice. Because this morning, I got a letter. Not from the county, from Karen. Postmarked from county jail. Subject line, "Appeal request for property violation reconsideration." I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my coffee. Things never change.